explained than the recording that you already have. So we are recording this session, just so you know. I appreciate everybody leaving their microphones on mute. That makes it a lot less likely that background noise, such as my dog, will not interfere with your experience. I apologize. My dog is upset that I'm on the computer all the time. Oh, yes. Yes, go ahead and send them invites. And also that's because I just noticed there was actually a typo in the password. They just need to take the number 1 off the end of the password if they see it there. I fixed it in the Google Calendar, but that's too late. The password for this session, don't have it memorized. It is in the Google Calendar now. That's on the hub. If somebody can grab it and paste it in the chat for me.
912064.
Thank you. 2064. So there was accident. Oh, good. It's in the chat. Thanks, everybody. Yeah, unfortunately, there was on that one, none of the other sessions, somehow an extra number, like when I was hitting a key on my keyboard, I hit a number. No, actually, I'm sorry. Go ahead, and I have it set up to where you could actually invite people. I'm not sure why the password isn't working. That is definitely the password. Let me double check one more time and make sure it didn't just get changed to something else, but 912, and I'd have to go into my, hold on a second. I want to pause the recording because we're not being, this isn't useful for the recording. We are going to start taking a look at designing these lessons for presenting via video that students can watch at any time. The nice thing about video, we were talking a little bit ago about how it's a little bit difficult for students sometimes because they can't show you that they don't understand. But the nice thing about video is they can pause, they can rewind, they can rewatch, they can try again. That is something that could be important to communicate out to your learners. So that they realize that there's no expectation that they have to watch the video all at once in one sitting, and if they had a question or a concern, that it's okay for them to stop and to rewind and to try again. It's also okay if something happens and they get interrupted, they can't continue the video at that time. They can come back into it later and watch it at that time. So in the chat, hold on one second, I'll change my chat to make sure that it is to everyone. We are going to post the support document for this particular session on using Zoom. And sorry, there are people outside, and so my dog is very upset. So I'm going to post that in the chat, and then I'm going to start screen sharing so that, oh, thank you, so that you can see what we're going to be looking at and talking about today. You can click on this link at any time. It should open in a web browser for you. If you can't click it, you should be able to copy it and then paste it into your web browser at the top of the page in order to open that. So if I open that now and start screen sharing, you'll also be able to see it on the screen. So if you need to, you can jump to resources that are provided for you in this support document, including recordings of this same training so that you can watch it at your own pace. There's a list of things about Screencastify and links to tutorials and support later in the document. I also have a section on a couple of iPad tools that provide a different type of screen recording experience that we'll see a little bit later in this presentation. Because the tool we are talking about primarily is called Screencastify, and it's a Chrome extension, I do have a tiny bit of information for those of you who are wondering what a Chrome extension is that is provided in this document. And then we have a section for sharing your Screencastify video. And I'll actually update this. I haven't updated this since we actually created the distance learning hub so that you have that available. There you go. And then you're all set to go there. Okay. So one of the things to keep in mind is that before you even start recording your training, you're probably going to want to design your training. These are screen recording tools for the most part. The ones I'm going to start talking about, or the one that I'm going to primarily talk about, is Screencastify. You will find there are plenty of products out there that can do the same thing, which would be essentially to record my voice, maybe include my webcam in a lower corner if I want to, and then also to show everything that's on the screen while I'm talking about it, and anything I click on, that will be visible in the video. If I type something while I'm talking, that will be visible in the video. It's a screen recorder. But for many of you, you'll want to kind of prepare that lesson or that content before you present. One of the most common ways to do that is to have like a Google Slides presentation ready to go. It could also be PowerPoint if you're more comfortable with PowerPoint. And by having a presentation ready to go, you can actually have that there as both visual support for you and something that helps you stay on track with what you wanted to say to your learners. In addition, it will allow you to build in checks for understanding that your learners can pause the video and do in order to be sure that they're doing okay with the content. Because we definitely recommend that you break your lesson into really small chunks and then provide tasks and things your learners can do to reflect on what you've just said in the lesson. If it's a new skill, to give them a task to try it out with, and then to kind of give them a sense of whether or not that they're doing okay. And to give you a very quick example, just because I know I have a screenshot on this page of what I'm talking about. If you look down here, for example, if you imagine a quick lesson, in this case in French, and I've been teaching my students on a video using pictures and so on, and I've been teaching them how to say these words that represent some common everyday activities. And I started with just 3 of them. And I had given them examples. The examples had pictures. There was color coding to help them focus on the words I wanted them to pay attention to, and so on. And now I built in the video a place where I say, okay, everybody's going to stop the video, and I want you to take a look at the 3 pictures and the 3 words and decide which word goes with which picture. Now, this is a very simple check for understanding. There's a lot of ways you could do this. So that's nice. The students can do that. They can even jot it down if they want. But when they hit play on the video to have it go again, you want to make sure that before you just move on to the next step, you actually give them some way of knowing if they're doing okay with the content. So with a simple check for understanding like this, which some of you will recognize, this is basically a Google slide, right? The very next slide provides them with the information they need to know in order to know if they are doing okay with these new words before I present additional new words. And that's a very important consideration for our distance learning scenario, where they can't just raise their hand and ask you a question the second they have a question while watching your videos. So I do recommend that you pick, excuse me, some kind of design tool in order to organize your lesson. We recommend always that as you're thinking about the design of instruction, that you consider some of the information that we have presented on the hub regarding strategies that foster successful distance learning, including this idea of designing for learning so that the lesson you're going to record, you can kind of check it against this list and make sure that it lays a foundation for new concepts by giving students a chance to reactivate any prior learning that the new information is going to be based on or build upon, that you break the lesson up into chunks, that you build in those checks for understanding and give them a chance to confirm their understanding and know if they're doing okay, and that you use the technology built in or the tools built into whatever you're using to design your lesson, whether it's PowerPoint or Keynote or Google Slides or Prezi or whatever you're using. Make sure that you use what's available to help learners focus their attention on what is important and what you need them to focus on, such as simple things like bold and underline and color, as well as what's called animating, so that in a slide deck, I can show you an example a little bit later, items come in one at a time instead of in this case where you're seeing everything at once. Ideally, I would have a bullet come in once and I would talk about that, and then I would click my mouse and the next bullet would appear. Those kinds of strategies will make distance learning scenarios where the students are trying to acquire new information and skills much easier for them. starting with breaking that, laying that foundation and breaking the lesson into chunks. Another really important concept, because you're not there to support them directly, is to use visuals to support the oral and printed language. So you're going to use whatever technology tool you would like in order to provide a lesson, even if it's what normally would have been a bigger lesson broken up into a few or 2 or 3 different smaller videos. You'll still use what you can use from the technology available to really help learners get the most out of that lesson. And once you've designed that lesson, especially if you're new at making videos of yourself, kind of giving a lesson like this, I highly recommend that you actually open up that lesson. And if you'll forgive me, I'm going to go ahead. I've been presenting all morning, so I didn't quite have a chance to open everything up ahead of time. So I'm going to reorient myself to where it's my other drive. I'm going to reorient myself here, and I'm going to go grab a slide deck. I highly recommend that you actually practice it before you even try recording it the first time. Because if this is new to you, and for some of our teachers, some people, it's new to use Google Slides. It's new to use PowerPoint. We didn't need to use the technology. There were other ways for us to actually be able to present information to our learners when we had them right in front of us. That was right in front of our students, and they were right in front of me. So let's say, sorry, I'm not finding what I'm looking for. But we're just going to pretend I haven't opened this one in a long time. It's not the best presentation, but I highly recommend that you go ahead and open up your presentation, put it in present mode, and actually practice with it and time it. See how long it is. This will actually really help you know whether or not there are places in your slide deck that are causing you as the teacher to kind of trip up on what you wanted to say or what you wanted to do. So for example, if I was presenting this one and going to make a video of it, I realized I'd like to add in these objects one at a time so they don't all show up immediately. And I would back out of the presentation and edit. So we highly recommend you practice and time it. Try to keep it to no more than 10 to 15 minutes if you can. The next thing you're going to do is actually go get a tool to record your screen. So you might have noticed on the screen recording document, we're going to talk about Screencastify, which has currently offered a full access to their paid version of Screencastify for free. This means there's no longer a 5-minute time limit. And this also means that you have access to the editor, which can be very helpful. And I'll actually demonstrate how the editor works because it's very easy. You don't need to be someone who's been using video technology for a long time to be successful with this. So we're going to talk about Screencastify, but you could choose another tool if you would like. Screencastify is basically a Chrome extension. And so you actually have in the support document what you need in order to get the extension. I highly recommend you go down to the point where it says, thanks to Rockland Unified, who posted the steps for the free version. You don't want the 5-minute limit. 5-minute lesson would be amazing. But we also know that realistically, your lesson might be 7 minutes. So you don't want the 5-minute limit, and you want access to the editor for this distance learning situation. So do get all the way down to the point where we talk about how to get the full version for free temporarily. And then you're going to install it. And what will happen is, because it's an extension, it's going to actually live in your Chrome browser. So this is a Chrome extension, and it will need to be on your Chrome browser. This is not something you're going to use in Safari, for example. An extension is essentially a mini program that allows me to get Chrome to do other things for me that it's not already programmed to do. And they look like little icons. If you look at where the web address is at the top of my screen, and then you go all the way to the right, there's these funny little icons. And if you hover over each one, it will tell you what it is. So this one is my Screencastify. This is one tab so that I can pull all my tabs into a list. Each little program here has a job that I can turn on and use by just clicking it. So what's nice is that this tool is really easy to use. So if I wanted to record my screen, and I will try to do a short demo, sometimes it crashes because the computer can't really handle me zooming live right now. and recording my screen. So this may crash and I'll have to stop the recording, but I'll give it a try for you. This doesn't require you to have a ton of experience with recording video. It's designed to be an extremely simple tool. So if I go back to my presentation, we're going to pretend this is a lovely presentation. I would actually completely redo it now, but that's okay. We're going to go back and I'm going to press on my extension to turn it on. And it's going to take a second to load. And then once it loads, you'll notice that I immediately have a record button. But before we press that, I'd like to give you a little bit more information between what this means. If you choose browser tab, you will only be able to record what's called your open browser tab. So you see at the top of my screen, I have a whole bunch of tabs. This drives some people crazy. It happens to be my to-do list. So I have all these tabs open, but this one is my active browser tab. So if I click record right now, it will only record that tab. And if I try to click a link in my slide deck to go somewhere else, I'll go there and I'll see it, but nobody will see it on the recording. It'll just stay here on this slide and they won't see anything else I'm talking about until I come back to this tab. So browser tab is a little bit limited. You need to make sure you have absolutely no need to record anything else other than what is on this tab. Desktop is much more comprehensive. It basically is going to record anything that is visible on your screen at any time. And webcam only would be, the whole screen would be filled with whatever your webcam sees, which is probably your face. You're going to actually also have a microphone. And so it's going to let you choose, if you have multiple microphones, which I do, it's going to let you choose the microphone that you want to use. And then, sorry, I'm gonna have to go back. And then if you would like to embed your webcam in the lower right corner or left corner of your screen, you can do that. I'm not going to do that today because I already have this one running. And you can see a little indicator that it is getting input from my microphone because I actually have an external microphone plugged in. And all I have to do is hit record to start recording. Now, before you do, make sure you get yourself as ready as you can because notice I'm not presenting right now. Thank you. I do see that there are some chats. I'm going to try to get to the point where we have a couple more things demonstrated and then I'll try to hop back into the chat for you. So we're going to click that record button. Now that I'm on the first slide, you'll notice I'm not in present mode yet because you can't get to the recorder when you're in present mode because all of your tabs go away. They're kind of behind it and you can't access these Chrome extensions. So it's going to give you a little 3-second countdown to get started. And I try to use that time to hit the present button. But the good news is it's super easy to just trim the beginning. So if there's a delay with your start because you're trying to get your presentation to go, you'll be able to cut that very easily. So again, let's hope this works. We're going to hit record. You're going to see that it's going to ask me to choose what I want to record and I want my entire screen. I'm going to hit share. I can hide the sharing button. It's giving me a countdown. I'm going to hit present and there was a little toolbar in the lower left menu corner, but now that I'm in present mode in Google Slides, that toolbar has gone away. So do know that you don't have access to the toolbar while you are in full screen present mode. And now you can talk about anything you want. You say whatever you would say to your students. Hi class, today we're going to be talking about add-ons for Google Forms. You can grab the slide deck at this link. The first thing I'd like to know is what questions or successes or challenges have you had with Google Forms? And you can just keep going through and talking about your slides. And when you're done, hit escape. That will actually exit out your slide deck. And then my tools for screen recorder just appeared again in the lower left corner. I can pause at this point. The recording, you'll also notice that if you're not in full screen, and Google Slides, you have an annotation tool, and while you're recording, it will actually capture anything you do with the annotation tool, okay? And when you're done, just hit pause. That's a pause button. This is really good if there's something in your presentation where you click and you need something to load or open and it's taking a long time, just hit the pause button, let the computer and the internet do their thing, and then when you're ready to record again, you can keep recording. Okay. When you are complete.
Can you show that pause button again? I'm sorry.
Sure. Again, it's in the lower left corner. These are your tools for for Screencastify, and almost every tool has a similar, if you choose a different tool, most of them have a similar operating style. So there'll be a little toolbar in the lower left corner of your screen while you are using the tool. And this particular tool, you can tell that I'm paused because now it shows a play button, and I know it's small. I can't make this box any bigger for you, but it's in the lower left corner of your screen. I could stop the recording right now, or if I press the play button, it will now resume recording, and I can keep on annotating if I'd like, and I can go back to my mouse and I can click on other things, or I could put it back in full screen. And then in the lower left corner is that pause button again. So anytime I'm ready to stop recording, I'm going to hit that pause button. Notice it doesn't default. There's no way to just end the recording without hitting pause first. So now that I'm done, I'm going to end my recording, and now let's watch what happens. So I'm going to hit stop. That's going to end my recording. And now it's going to open the recording so that I can preview it. And I'm going to pause it because, oh good, it's muted. It will automatically be muted. You have to click to unmute, so hold on. So do know that you don't have access to the toolbar while you are in full screen present mode. Hold on, I have to make it be quiet. And now you can talk about anything you want. Okay, so that way you can check the audio. You can retitle your video. So this is a Screencastify demo, right? So you can retitle it. And I'm going to bring, this is kind of a time bar of your video. You can click to any point in it to see something, but I'm going to go back here to the beginning. Notice how I wasn't in present mode yet. If I wanted to wait until I was in present mode, and by the way, I know it's small yet again, but in the lower left corner, you actually can see my Screencastify tools, including the pause button. Remember that once you go full screen, take a look at that gray box. When I go full screen, the gray box is not visible because I asked Google Slides to go full screen. So now Google Slides gets my entire screen space. So to see my tools again, I had to hit escape to bring Google Slides out of full screen so that I could see my open tabs on my computer, and so that I could see, let me see if I can get it back there again, so that I could see the tools for Screencastify, which are hiding behind the cut bar right now, so you can't see them in that particular shot. So you don't have to even open the editor that you have access to once you get the full version in order to trim the beginning or the end of your video. That is available to you right away. So if you'd like to trim the beginning of your video, you should watch it first and find the point, like the seconds. If you look in the lower left corner, I'm at 0 seconds of 1:24. So I'm going to see when, there we go, and it says it's loading. Up there, it's full screen now. I don't need that loading, that's at 2 seconds. And I could turn on my sound so that I can see if I'm talking, but I don't actually want to listen to that right now. So we're going to pretend that I figured out that at 3 seconds is where I wanted to start. So I'm just going to drag the scissors to where it says 3 seconds. Notice it's going to keep playing for me so I can confirm that it's right, but I'm going to stop. Then I can go all the way to the end. And if it's fine, I can leave it. But if there's extra stuff at the end while I was trying to close out of things or anything I was trying to do, I can drag the scissors in order to clip off as much as I want from the end of the video. And then I highly recommend that you bring your cursor back and play your video to make sure that you didn't cut any words off, or even bring it back partway and play it to make sure you didn't cut any words off. If you like that trim, you can save it. And it'll ask you, okay, you're replacing the original video, so everything you trimmed is going away and you cannot get it back. So you say, yep, I know, I didn't want that part anyway. And you say, yes, please trim it. And so now it's trimming my video, and instead of 1:24 seconds, my video is now going to be, wait for it, hold on, 1:18 seconds. So I cut 6 seconds off. Now, that was just how to record. Let's take a look at how to, now that you have, let's say it's done. You don't need to do any other editing. You're good to go. right off to the right-hand side, you actually have a few different ways to share your video. It's already been saved to your Google Drive. Your videos live in a folder in your Google Drive that Screencastify creates for you. You didn't have to create it. So I'm going to scroll all the way down. I have a lot of folders, so it's taking a second to load. It made a folder called Screencastify. Let me actually see if I can get it to, let's just do this modified. Looks like it's, yeah, it's in reverse. Okay, so now we have, no, it's not in reverse. So it's adding it to my folder in Google Drive. And sometimes it does take a minute for it to show up there. So I'm going to try to see if I can get it to show up. It does have the one that I made last week. And then it looks like it has one that is so new. This is probably today's because it's it had an original, and then it looks like I have my trim as well. So let's go back to Screencastify. And one of the things now is it looks like my video's gone, but it's not. It's just here in an open tab. So I'm going to go back to my tab, and you can tell because it has this icon, and the Screencastify icon is an orange arrow, and it's hard to see here, but inside the arrow is a white video camera icon. So that's what that icon is actually made up of. It's an orange arrow with a white video camera that looks a little bit like the video camera that you see on the lower left of your screen in Zoom. Looks a little bit like that one. So because it's in Google Drive, you can actually always get a link to anything you have in Google Drive, and you can share it out to people. If you are using Google Classroom, you can click to share this video to Google Classroom. So it's turning on the link sharing. It's going to ask me which classroom I would like to share it to. Oops. Yeah, perfect. It's going to ask me which one I want to share it to and what I want to do with it. Do I want this to be an assignment? Do I want it to be a question assignment that creates like a discussion board? Do I want to make this an announcement that is just a one-time announcement that shows up in the stream and they don't ever need it again? Or do I want to make it material or a resource that they will be able to find in the classwork section whenever they need to watch this video? So the first two options are a type of assignment. The third option is kind of a one-time announcement in the stream. And the fourth option is essentially a resource for students that they can consult at any time, but it's not an assignment. So once I create that, I hit go. And then it opens up the editing interface to let me choose, is it just this class? Can I give it to multiple classes at the same time? Yes, I can. Right. And then do I need to add anything else? If I've created topics for my Google Classroom, I can associate this particular item with a topic, which is kind of like a contents list. It's an organizational structure in Google Classroom. If I need to give it a topic, but I haven't created the topic yet, I can create a topic right now. Yeah.
We can't see what you're doing. Right now we're locked on your demo screen.
That's unusual. Okay, that hasn't happened before in all the times that I've been doing training. So I apologize. I'm not sure what happens. It looks like we're probably having a glitch with Zoom because it's not going to show any of those pop-up windows. So essentially I clicked on share to classroom. And what that did was I see what it wants. I'd rather not stop sharing. It wants me to stop sharing and then pick that window. And that's going to be a mess because I'll have to keep picking different windows. But essentially, you can share it directly to Google Classroom. You can actually publish it to YouTube. You have a YouTube account as part of your sanjuan.edu email address. So you can send it to YouTube and then get the link from YouTube and give it to your students. But if you do that, make sure that when the video loads to YouTube, you click on it as if you were going to watch it. You'll see this information here on the hub. Click on it as if you were going to watch the video, and there will be a blue bar at the bottom with an approve button. That is because the video you just put there has not yet been approved for your students to see. So all you have to do is go to YouTube and find the video you posted, click on it as if you're going to watch it. You'll see a big blue bar that says video not approved for San Juan Unified. And then to the right, there will be an approve button. just click the approve button. That's all you have to do. That way the video will not be blocked for your learners if you choose the option to publish the video to YouTube. You don't have to worry about it being blocked if you share it directly to Google Classroom. You do not have to worry about it being blocked if you take the link from your Google Drive and copy that link and communicate it to them if you're using a different method, for example, such as Class Dojo or Seesaw or Remind. You can put the link there for them and that will not be blocked. It's only if you publish to YouTube that you need to take that extra step. So the next thing that you can do, let's say there was a problem in the middle. For example, today I keep having my dog barking, right? And so there came a point that my dog was barking. I'm gonna actually, this video is the one that's open, so I'm gonna go ahead and switch it to the editor, either by clicking editor on the menu on the left, or because it's the one that's open, I can just click open in editor. And I do want to take a minute to show you this editor because I do want you to hopefully walk away with the feeling that it's pretty easy to use. It's not something that is, you know, scary for someone who hasn't done any video editing before.
Nicole,
So
I'm sorry. All
yeah.
this is your Zoom screen.
Oh, that's weird. Still? Okay, hold on. Let me see if I can figure out what's going on.
There. Oh, that's better.
Well, no, that's not better. I'm not sharing anything now. So hold on. All right.
There we go.
Well, yes, except you didn't see how I got there and I'm kind of afraid to, I'm going to try again and see if this works. I haven't had this happen yet in all the recordings we've been doing. I've been able to go to many different tabs. So do you now see the share options on the right of the screen to Google Drive and publish to YouTube and share to Classroom?
Yes.
Okay. Hopefully this will keep working for me. This is the original one. I think you all got to see how I pulled the scissors in and trimmed the video originally. Now I'm going to open the editor because there was a problem. Is it actually showing you the new screen with the editor loading?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So I'm not sure what's happening. It might just be having a lot of glitches right now. So hold on, it's going to take a little bit of time because it needs to load my recording. And what we're going to do is we're going to clip a part out of the middle of the video. I might need to close it and open it again. It looks like it just got itself tied up and it's not going to open now. Of course, it opened last time when it wasn't screen sharing. Hold on a second. Yeah, it's not opening. All right, we're going to try that one more time. Okay, so let's try it one more time. Okay. Yep, there we go. All right, do you now see the add-ons for Google Forms screen with the
Yes.
kind of,
Yes.
okay, perfect. All right, so what you see at the bottom of the screen is essentially a timeline of your video. It's giving you screenshots to kind of give you a visual cue of different parts of your video so that you can tell like, oh, I can see the annotation there in the little thumbnail at the bottom. So I know that around that point is when I started using the annotation tool, right? And what I like about this is in the lower, oops, I'm gonna go to that clip actually. In the lower left corner, there's that toolbar for Screencastify, the pause, the cursor, the pencil, the eraser for the pencil, and just to X out of Screencastify altogether. You press the pause button to pause the recording, you press, it turns into a play button and you resume recording. So I have this whole area here. Now, normally what you would do is you would click to put your cursor at the beginning and this will not show up on your Zoom window because it's just too small and too faint. But there's a dark gray line where I have my play bar, where I have the play ready to start. If I click right here, there's kind of a dark gray line in the middle of that screen now. That means that play will start at that point. If I click it over here, double click, the gray bar has moved over here. That means that playback will start at that point. So normally you would probably play from the beginning, but if you know that a problem occurred at a certain point, you could put your play bar there, click play, and it's going to have sound probably, so my apologies. Forms. And you can just keep going through and talking about your slides, and then you get to the point where the problem happened, right? Hit escape. That will actually exit out your, Okay, so you hit a point and you find out that there's a problem with the video. That's where the dog started barking or you started coughing or whatever it was. Whatever that point was, probably not mid-sentence like I'm doing now, you're going to hit this little scissors key. It's not like the one we used earlier where you drag it. You're just going to put your cursor at the point where you want to separate the good part that already happened from the bad part that's just about to start. So you make sure the dark gray bar is at that point. Everything before that point is good, and something starting at that point and going on for a little bit is bad.
Nicole, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
This editing is just for the sound, right? Not for the
Nope,
video.
this is for the whole video.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So you're going to hit the scissors and you'll notice it split the video into two. My gray line is hard for you to see, but it's actually right at the beginning of the part where something bad happened that I'm going to clip. So I'm going to play my video for a little bit. I'm actually not going to. I'm going to pretend that I already know that the problem happened at 40 seconds. So I'm moving my toolbar to the right, and I'm watching in the lower right corner the clock, and I'm going to move my gray line to there. Okay, so I'm going to cut out this entire chunk, but it's not cut yet. What I need to do now that the gray bar is right at the point that is now the end of the bad part and the beginning of where it was started to be good again, right? So like your dog barked or you started coughing, so then you repeated yourself and now you're good to go for the rest of your video. You hit the scissors again. Now we've got the good part on the left, the problem here in the middle, and the rest of the video is fine. Or maybe it's not, but we can cut the rest later. So you have this piece, it has a blue box around it, which is probably hard to see on the Zoom window, but there's a blue box around it showing that that's the piece that is currently selected. I selected it by clicking on it. So if I click over here, there's now a blue box around this large chunk of video that's just fine. This is the currently selected piece of video. If I hit delete, I'm gonna lose that good part because that's the part I selected. If I click right here, it's blue. All I have to do is hit the back or delete key on my keyboard, and that is gone. And now, although it looks like there's a gap, Screencastify will actually smoothly play from this clip to this clip. Now remember, I cut it mid-sentence, so it's not going to sound good. I can pause at this. So there isn't a 2-second gap here where nothing happens. It just is going to go ahead and play on to the next part. You can keep doing that as much as you need. If there was another problem at this point in your video and all of this was good until that little second right there, you can hit the scissors, come over here, and there's just a little 2-second problem, right? Double click so it has a gray bar, hit the scissors. That little segment is the part that's selected and you can delete it. Okay. Now there is an undo button. So if you accidentally deleted something, you can get it back. There is a way to add text, but it's not very good. If you click to add text, it will only put the text here in the middle of your screen. It will not let me move it, which drives me nuts. And it will appear for the duration of that, what's called a frame. So I'm gonna cancel that out for a second. This would be the frame because all of it is one constant piece. This is another frame, even though there's lots of frames in that little segment, but for their purposes, that's a frame. And this is a frame. So if I click to add text and I'm selected on this last piece, it will appear throughout that whole segment. If I'd like it to appear for less time, what I can do is move my cursor to where I want it to stop and just clip it. And instead of deleting, I'm just going to add my text now. And it's going to say, write something. Look at this. And that's hard to see, but I can highlight it so that it has a color. Oops, that didn't work. Let's try that again. I can highlight it so that it has a color behind it, but I can't move it. It doesn't let me move it anywhere. It's going to appear in the center left of your screen. And it will be there. There's a little T here for this entire frame. And it will go away when I go to this frame. Now it's gone. So you can add text, but it's not very robust. It just lets you type and you can change the color, but you can't move the text. Okay. The other piece that if you did need to edit your video, you will need to do something to save it. You'll notice you no longer have the button to share to Google Classroom or to publish to YouTube. So you have two options. You can download it to the hard drive of your device. It will download as a video file, or you can save it to your Google Drive. Either way, if you save it to your Google Drive, you can get a link to share with students. If you download it to your device and you like to use YouTube, you can then upload it to YouTube from the hard drive of your device. So in this particular portion of the day, what we saw was how to start the recorder, and it actually looks like it worked, which is nice. How to start the recorder by opening up the extension, clicking the record button after deciding what we wanted to record, right? Recording our segment and then stopping using the tools that were in the lower left corner, trimming the ends of our video. And we saw that we could publish to YouTube or share to Google Classroom or get a link. Then we opened the editor. We learned how to cut the video by just putting the cursor at the points that we want to cut and hitting the scissors. And then we could delete that part or add text to that part. And we learned that we have to either download that to our device and upload it somewhere else later or save it to Google Drive. The other thing I'd like to show you is that if you click on the Screencastify extension, you do not have to record. You can also click on the menu in the upper left-hand corner where you can then get access to all of your recordings. It does not open the editors. So this has the one that I edited where I trimmed down 6 seconds, but you'll notice that the video that I started working with in the editor does not appear in this list. If you need to see that, you just need to open the editor again. And as long as you didn't delete it, it will open up with the last thing you started editing. Okay, so it is really important when you're done to make sure you save that edited video either to the hard drive on your device or to Google Drive, because this new edited version where I clipped out stuff in the middle and added text and did all those things does not show up when I click on my recordings in the menu of Screencastify, because it got pulled out of Screencastify and into the editor. You can see that you can from here delete any of your recordings, or you can open them back up to continue working with them, or if you need to share them. So if you click on any recording that you've made, you get back the share options, as long as not the ones you put in the editor, but just the ones in Screencastify. You get the share options again to share to Classroom, publish to YouTube, copy the shareable link. Those of you who have your own website, you can get the embed code and embed the video directly onto your website. Okay, so it is important that we spend a couple minutes talking about the iPad tools, because some of you are going to want to use those tools in order to do a slightly different kind of recording. Okay, so we're going to go back to our document because I have the links I need there. I know of 2, but there's actually several others that will allow you to kind of record your screen, but I'm focusing on 2 that have kind of a whiteboard feel. So if you're a teacher who does a lot of writing and you use the whiteboard and you used different colors and so on, there is something you can do on the iPad that is similar. The one I used personally as a teacher is called EduCreations. They have a competitor called Doceri, which is also very popular. I just never tried it because I already had EduCreations by the time I heard about Doceri. So EduCreations and Doceri are both a digital whiteboard on your iPad. The iPad versions of these apps are free. The desktop versions of the apps are not free. Although now EduCreations is giving free upgrades for teachers. So maybe the desktop version is free temporarily. So if you can see on the picture here, before we even look further, the teacher was able to bring in an image that you could drop onto that whiteboard and then use editing tools like different colored markers to write on it, to draw different kinds of lines on it. They can record and talk while they do all of that. And then once they're done recording, instead of the recording feature, you'll actually see up here a share button. And that means they can get a link to that video and put it wherever they need to, in an email, in Class Dojo, in Remind, in Google Classroom. So I'm going to scroll down a little bit and kind of show you a demonstration. This is one that's provided by EduCreations. So as you can see, this particular teacher actually dropped in some typed content, almost like a slide that is almost like a picture. So they put that in initially to start their lesson. And actually, I'm going to go back up to the top and show you on their demo right here. If you run out of space here and you want to continue your lesson, there's a plus button, and that just gives you, it's almost like turning the page and you get another blank screen to work with. You can actually come in ahead of time and prepare those screens by putting the images on that you want available, so that while you're recording, all you have to do is write on them and annotate while you talk, and it will record your annotations that you do with these marker colors, and it will record everything you say. So the screen isn't very big, but you can actually hit plus and get more white and get more space essentially to keep going. So we'll look at a little bit of this video just so you can kind of see what the finished product is like. Hold on.
A big idea when we're making measurements is the accuracy and the precision of the measurement.
So you can see just a simple use of this tool so far was after he had brought in or typed in this information and brought in this image, when he hit record, he started talking and then he used his stylus or finger to provide the underlining to help focus the learner's attention on what he wants them to notice and focus on while he's talking.
Now, both of those mean slightly different things, but they do mean how carefully the measurement is. So the first thing here is, what is accuracy? We want to look at.
So then he does the check mark. I'm going to move ahead in his video, and you can see he's done different kinds of images with annotations.
Judgment. Now, if somebody else came along and looked at that exact same ruler and that exact same red piece of whatever, they might say that that's 2.35 centimeters, and that would be fine. We have the numbers we're sure of, and then one more that.
So you can see that you can also write. If you might want to practice writing on your iPad with your stylus or finger if it's not something you've done a lot of before. And he just kept using the plus button in order to add first the page that had that little image in the corner, then the page with the ruler, then the page with the ruler and the red tape. Then there's another page he added, I know it's in here, there we go, that has these different rulers and the markers and the different measurement pieces. So he was able to set all of that up in advance so that when he kind of swiped through it as he was recording, he could then just annotate on those images that he prepared in advance. So it essentially gives you, like I said, a whiteboard that you can talk, and it will record what you say as well as everything you write or draw on that whiteboard. Doceri is a very similar tool. It's a competitor tool, so it's also a digital whiteboard, and it will give you also the ability to kind of prepare your whiteboard in advance and then record yourself. So they have, I've linked for you in the screen recording document, their YouTube channel for support and for examples. I also have the Educreations tutorial linked for you here. And up at the top for Screencastify, I have their help center, a short tutorial video they made, and then a 1-hour virtual class that Screencastify made that covers all of those topics. And then we will also have the recorded webinar, which is already here, or I might replace it with today's. So I'm going to jump into the chat and take a look at some questions and bring us back together there. Give me 1 second, chat. And I thank you. I think Jenny's been in the chat answering questions, and you've all been helping with each other. So I really appreciate that. Okay, hold on. I'm scrolling back up. I am trying to catch up with the questions. Woo, I'm so glad you're here. Okay. If you choose application. Oh, if you choose application instead of full screen, then you can, your recorder will be limited to that open application. It will usually show you what applications you have open, so you can pick the one you want to use. And a little bit like what you saw today, which was weird because I did this training before and this didn't happen, but where it will only record that. So even if the person using the computer moves away from that application to then show something on the web, it won't catch any of that. It was told to only record that specific application. So it's a way of limiting what it records. So how do I make a video of myself doing a lesson? So I think we'll have to see if they changed the the instructions. It was working still as of last week for the getting the free version. So someone asked, how do I make a video of myself doing a lesson? So if you wanted to record your full self as opposed to your screen, you would probably find it easiest to, you could do two things. If you have a webcam on your computer, every computer has actually a way to turn on the webcam and record a video. So you would want to search in your computer for your webcam in order to start it and record a video. Then you would need to upload that from your computer into either YouTube or into Google Drive so that you could share that with your learners. Obviously, you could also set your phone up somewhere and record that, and then you could upload that to YouTube or to Google Drive or somewhere so that you can share that with your learners if that's the kind of lesson you were talking about where you kind of needed it to be you demonstrating something. And then if you want to record yourself doing a lesson using something like Screencastify, one of the other options you have, which I was not using today, is to ensure that the webcam is also turned on so that they can both see your screen and they have a webcam of you in the lower corner. If you do that, it's really important to know that that webcam of you will always be in the corner. So you want to make sure there's no important information in the left and right corners of your screen, because your webcam video is going to block that area of the screen throughout the entire length of the video. So you would want to design your slides such that the corners are always left available, kind of like a little box in the corner is left available, and that you don't need anything behind there for your students.
Nicole, is there an unlimited number of minutes for the lesson?
So far on screen, I haven't hit a limit on Screencastify yet. So far, so good. All right. So I had a couple other people mention that it looks like the Screencastify might have changed their process for getting the free version. What I'm wondering is if they made it even easier, but I will make a note to myself to go look at that, and I will update the document with whatever I find. It may be that you don't have to do anything. I'll update that when I have a little bit of time a little bit later today. Okay. Okay. Ooh, that's a nice trick. I didn't know that. Under view options, it says choose to follow the presenter's pointer, and it zooms in on what she is doing. That's really cool. So that was something I didn't know about that's available in Zoom in order to really kind of focus on what I'm talking about. I recommend you make your slides first, because that helps you organize your lesson. This is new for almost everybody. So it would be very stressful to try to present a lesson and then you might get sidetracked, you go off on a tangent and so on. If instead you create your slides first using whatever tool is most comfortable to you, Google Slides, PowerPoint, Keynote, and so on, then all you'll have to do is click present, and then you just click your mouse or use your down arrow or your right arrow in order to see what's coming next. And that can help remind you of what you wanted to say. And that's also why I recommend you actually go ahead and practice presenting your slide deck without even recording. And lastly, I recommend that when you record yourself, you go back and watch your video from beginning to end. Nobody likes doing that. I know, because I don't like doing it either. But I highly recommend you watch your video from beginning to end to make sure that there was not a problem with the sound, not a problem even with the video, like there wasn't some glitchy part that just didn't record for some reason, and that you're sure that it's what you wanted to present. And look behind you if you have your webcam on, make sure that you also look at what's visible behind you. In case, is there any art that might be considered sensitive? Is there beer and wine behind you? And so on. You just want to make sure that everything the learners see is going to help them better acquire the lesson. Okay. I am seeing questions about the view presenter's pointer, some working for some and not for others. I can say that Zoom operates very differently on my Mac than on my PC. That could be one reason. Another possible reason is if you joined via the link and it didn't open the desktop app, the link is less robust and doesn't have as many features. If you put the Zoom app on your Mac or on your PC and open that, it will let you put in the meeting ID and password to join. And then you will sometimes have features that you weren't seeing if you looked at it just from the browser version of Zoom. So both of those things could be reasons why some people had the view pointer options and some don't. On my Mac, there's a whole bunch of options that just don't work in Zoom, which is why I've switched to using my personal PC. Oh, okay. So let me see if I just need to update the document. It says to get Screencastify Unlimited, you must first click on join before you will be able to see the redeem code. Let me go over here, see if that's not included in the instructions. Hold on a second. Visit this page, click. Okay, I will update this. Click join Screencastify. That might be closer. And then click redeem coupon. I'll have to check out the process again and see if they've changed it further. Thank you. Can we record a pre-existing video that we are displaying? You know what? You can. If you have a pre-existing video, you may not need to. You know what? If you have a pre-existing video, I highly recommend you open up Screencastify, go to your editor, make sure you've got the full version because the editor doesn't exist in the free version. So go to the editor and open it. So I'll show you how I did that again. I clicked on the extension. I ignored all the recording stuff here in the middle. And instead I went to the menu and I'm going to choose editor. You'll notice when you open up the editor that it's going to open to your last project. If you don't want to add video to that project, it's really important to click on the menu and choose new project. Okay. So now I'm in the editor. So it's like a side program to Screencastify. Notice it's kind of its own thing. There is a plus button. Choose upload from your computer and it will let you browse your computer in order to find the video that already exists and pull it into Screencastify so that now you can put it into your Google Drive. Also know that if you don't need to edit it, you probably don't even need to do that because if your video is ready to go, you should be able to upload it to your Google Drive by going to your Google Drive, clicking new, choosing file upload, and then looking at your computer for your video. So those are a couple of options for you if you have an existing, okay. I know that this might not, it's not probably showing you the screen that I just tried to open and looks like my computer just froze. Yeah, it did. Okay. Wait for the program to respond. All right, so I'm gonna close out my screen share because it looks like my Chrome just froze. I was trying to do too much stuff. Yes, the code is listed in the directions. It says it's COVID-19. I can't remember if it's capitalized, but it's in the instructions in the support document. Can you increase the size of the web camera? No, it doesn't give, it's not that robust a tool. They have requested a school license for CASA for free to support our emergency. Is Edpuzzle the same as Screencastify? No, Edpuzzle and Screencastify are different tools. Edpuzzle is a tool that lets you take any video, whether you made it or it's a video you found on YouTube, for example. Just make sure it's approved for your students. And then it lets you insert questions in the middle of the video or throughout the video for students to answer while they watch the video. So that's a completely different tool. It also works with video, but its intent is to allow you to insert questions throughout. Now, the nice thing about that is you could record a video lesson. It's your video. You can download it to your computer because Screencastify will let you put it on your computer. You can go to Edpuzzle, upload it there, and then you can insert questions as checks for understanding for your students to do throughout that video. Can you use a document camera to record? Yes, you can. However, I'm still building my document camera support. You might have to fiddle with it and make sure that it gets selected kind of as the, you know, where it was like embed webcam. You would want to be sure that the camera it selects for embedding the webcam is your document camera. We are finding with Zoom, which you can attach a document camera and then record Zoom as well. This is another way you could record yourself. We are finding that the success of that varies extensively, both based on the brand of document camera and based on your device. It works. For example, the Elmos only work with the PC, and we haven't been able to get it to work with a Mac, and so on. So Okay, so I think Thaxton, I just answered that one. There we go. That's the code. Thank you. It's right in the instructions. Thank you. Yeah, please do take a look at the support document. I do believe, unless they've changed it and you found it elsewhere. Oh, it looks like Chrome crashed. So let me see if I can get it open again. No, I can't. That's too bad. All right, so I'm not going to be able to show you that right now because my Chrome window actually completely crashed. But the support document did include the code that you were looking for. So please do open the support document. It really is designed to help you through this process. I will post it again in the chat for you in case it hasn't been posted since you last came in. And otherwise, if you don't have any other questions.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you can see or hear me. So I tried to log in through my computer when the meeting started, and it wouldn't let me. Like the password, it kept saying no, wouldn't let me.
There was a problem with the password for today's meeting, but I'm glad you're here now.
Okay, so I just wanted to make sure that you did see my name on there, because again,
It's actually
my phone.
Nope, it should be part of the report, but if you don't see, that's interesting. Now I've lost my whole thing. There we go. If you don't see credit in a few days, do give her a few days. These groups are very, very large. If you don't see credit in PL in a few days, just please reach out.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, it worked after 20 minutes. So yeah, there've been a lot of computer problems with this. Yes, I announced a few times today that we are taking attendance using the report feature that is built into Zoom. I don't need anybody's email address. We are using the report feature that is built into Zoom. It will tell me exactly how many minutes you were in the room. And so obviously if you were in there for the majority of the time, that's no problem. We understand that you might have had to step out a little bit early or come in a little bit late. But it will actually take care of that for us. And it is available in the free accounts as well. So if you are, I will be adding that support. We just found out the free Zoom accounts have it. So if you are going to be doing live sessions with your students and you want to have a way to see who was there, I'll be adding that to the support document for Zoom so that you can figure out where to get the report that tells you which students were in there and for how long. So I do not need any emails. Thanks again. We actually have a report in Zoom that will take care of that. All right, I'm going to pause the recording.